Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. We have another 80 questions. Let's get started. 1. Who was the high priest during King David's reign? Zadok, Aaron, Eli, or Abiathar? Abiathar. 1 Kings 2:26. And Abiathar the priest, the king said, "Go to Anathoth to your estate, for you deserve death, but I will not at this time put you to death, because you carried the ark of the Lord God before David my father, and because you shared in all my father's affliction." 2. Who interpreted Pharaoh's dream of 7 fat and 7 lean cows? Daniel, Joseph, Moses, or Aaron? Joseph. Genesis 41:25. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dream of Pharaoh was one. God hath shown Pharaoh what he is about to do." 3. How many times did Peter deny Jesus before the rooster crowed? Once, 3 times, twice, or 4 times? Three times. Matthew 26:34. Jesus said unto him, "Verily I say unto thee, that this night before the cock crow thou shalt deny me thrice." 4. Which king had a sundial that moved backward as a sign from God? David, Hezekiah, Solomon, or Asa? Hezekiah. 2 Kings 20:11. Then Isaiah the prophet called on the Lord, and the Lord made the shadow go back the 10 steps it had gone, down on the stairway of Ahaz. 5. Who was the first king of Israel? David, Solomon, Saul, or Rehoboam? Saul. 1 Samuel 10:1. Then Samuel took a flask of oil and poured it on Saul's head and kissed him, saying, "Has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance?" 6. Which Old Testament book has the most chapters? Genesis, Isaiah, Psalms, or Jeremiah? Psalms 1:1. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers. 7. What was Jesus' crown made of when he was in prison? Flowers, paper, thorns, or snakes? Thorns. Matthew 27:29. They twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. 8. What did Samson use to kill 1,000 men? Spear, donkey's jawbone, sword, or slingshot? A donkey's jawbone. Judges 15:15. Finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. 9. What did Moses' staff turn into when he threw it on the ground? A snake, burning bush, lion, or dove? Snake. Exodus 4:3. The Lord said, "Throw it on the ground." Moses threw it on the ground and it became a snake, and he ran from it. 10. What was the weapon David used to defeat Goliath? Sword, bow and arrow, spear, or sling and stone? A sling and stone. 1 Samuel 17:49. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead and he fell face down on the ground. 11. What item did the high priest wear on his chest during his duties? Golden crown, bronze helmet, linen ephod, or breastplate with 12 stones? Breastplate with 12 stones. Exodus 28:15-21. Fashion a breastpiece for making decisions. The work of skilled hands. Make it like the ephod of gold and a blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen. Then mount 4 rows of precious stones on it. 12. What did Elijah leave behind when he was taken up to heaven? sandals, belt, cloak, or staff? Cloak. 2 Kings 2:13. Elisha then picked up Elijah's cloak that had fallen from him and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. 13. What was inside the Ark of the Covenant? Golden calf, pot of manna, stone tablets of the law, golden calf, pot of manna, and the bones of Joseph, golden calf, and pot of manna, or Aaron's rod, pot of manna, and stone tablets of the law. Aaron's rod, pot of manna, and stone tablets of the law. Hebrews 9:4, which had the golden altar of incense and the gold-covered Ark of the Covenant. This ark contained the gold jar of manna, Aaron's staff that had budded, and the stone tablets of the covenant. 14. What did Jesus use to feed 5,000 people? 7 loaves of bread and 3 fish, 5 loaves and 5 fish, 5 loaves, 2 fish, or 7 loaves and 2 fish? 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Matthew 14:17. We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they answered. 15. What did Gideon use to test God's will? A fleece, scroll, staff, or stone? A fleece. Judges 6:37. Look, I will place a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew only on the fleece and all the ground is dry, then I will know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you said. 16. What was a container used to hide baby Moses? Basket made of reeds, wooden box, basket made of weeds, or a cloth sack? A basket made of reeds. Exodus 2:3. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. 17. What did Solomon build to store the shields of gold? Temple of Solomon, Hall of Justice, Fortress of Zion, or House of the Forest of Lebanon? House of the Forest of Lebanon. 1 Kings 10:17. He also made 300 small shields of hammered gold with 3 minas of gold in each shield. The king put them in the palace of the Forest of Lebanon. 17. What did the wise men bring as gifts to Jesus? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Matthew 2:11. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. 19. What did Elijah use to part the waters of the Jordan River? Hand, staff, cloak, or belt? Cloak. 2 Kings 2:8. Elijah took his cloak, rolled it up, and struck the water with it. The water divided to the right and to the left, and the two of them crossed over on dry ground. 20. What did the spies of Joshua carry back from the promised land? Large clusters of grapes, sword, golden calf, or a scroll of the law? Large cluster of grapes. Numbers 13:23. When they reached the valley of Eshcol, they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes. 2 of them carried it on a pole between them, along with some pomegranates and figs. 21. Hosanna in the highest was the writing on the wall at Belshazzar's feast. False. Daniel 5:25. This is the inscription that was written. Mene mene tekel parsin. 22. What was used to bind Isaac when Abraham was tested? Chains, cloth, rope, or binds? Rope. Genesis 22:9. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. 23. What did Gideon's army use to defeat the Midianites? Swords and shields, trumpets, jars and torches, slings and stones, or bows and arrows? Trumpets, jars, and torches. Judges 7:20. The three companies blew the trumpets and smashed the jars, grasping the torches in their left hands and holding in their right hands the trumpets they were to blow. They shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." 24. What did Rahab use to help the spies escape? Rope, wooden plank, ladder, or blanket? Rope. Joshua 2:15. So she let them down by a rope through the window, for the 1,000 she lived in was part of the city wall. 25. What was used to measure Ezekiel's vision of the temple? Cloud, string, rod, or pillar of fire? Rod. Ezekiel 43. He took me there, and I saw a man whose appearance was like bronze. He was standing in the gateway with a linen cord and a measuring rod in his hand. 26. What did the angel use to touch Isaiah's lips? Stone, sword, coal, or scroll? Coal. Isaiah 6:6-7. Then one of the seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from the altar. With it he touched my mouth and said, "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for." 27. What did Jesus use to wash his disciples' feet? Hands, water and towel, cloth and ointment, or oil and cloth? Water and a towel. John 13:5. After that he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. 28. What did God provide Jonah for shade? Vine, cloud, vine, or tent? A vine. Jonah 4:6. Then the Lord God provided a leafy plant and made it grow up over Jonah to give shade for his head to ease discomfort, and Jonah was very happy about the plant. 29. What did Nebuchadnezzar's statue in his dream have for feet? Iron and clay. Daniel 2:33. Its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. 30. What was used to seal the tomb of Jesus? Large stone, wooden door, brick wall, or metal gate? Large stone, Matthew 27:60, and placed it in his own new tomb that he had cut out of the rock. He rolled a big stone in front of the entrance to the tomb and went away. 31. What did the woman with the issue of blood touch to be healed? Jesus' hand, hair, foot, or robe? Jesus' robe. Luke 8:44. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. 32. What did Jesus give to his disciples as a symbol of his body? Bread, honey, fish, or wine? Bread. Matthew 26:26. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat, this is my body." 33. What did the Israelites use to mark their doors during Passover? Blood of an ox, blood of a fish, blood of a dove, or blood of a lamb? Blood of the lamb. Exodus 12:7. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the door frames of the house where they eat the lambs. 34. What was thrown into the water to make it sweet at Marah? Branch, salt, piece of wood, or stone? Piece of wood. Exodus 15:25. Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became fit to drink. 35. What did the Israelites build while Moses was on Mount Sinai? Golden calf, wooden cross, altar of stone, or bronze serpent? Golden calf. Exodus 32:4. He took what they handed him and made it into an idol cast in the shape of a calf, fashioning it with a tool. Then they said, "These are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." 36. What did the 10 virgins carry while waiting for the bridegroom? Candles, lamps, torches, or lanterns? Lamps. Matthew 25:1. At that time the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 37. Who was the left-handed judge who killed Eglon, king of Moab? Elijah, Noah, Ehud, or Enoch? Ehud. Judges 3:21. Ehud reached with his left hand, drew the sword from his right thigh, and plunged it into the king's belly. 38. What did Joshua set up as a memorial after crossing the Jordan River? Altar, cedar tree, golden calf, or 12 stones? Stones. Joshua 4:9. Joshua set up the 12 stones that had been in the middle of the Jordan at the spot where the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant had stood, and they are there to this day. 39. Who was a prophet that made an iron axe head float? Elijah, Samuel, Elisha, or Isaiah? Elisha. 2 Kings 6:6. The man of God asked, "Where did it fall?" When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it there, and made the iron float. 40. Which king consulted the witch of Endor? David, Solomon, Saul, or Ahab? Saul. 1 Samuel 28:7. Saul then said to his attendants, "Find me a woman who's a medium, so I may go and inquire of her." "There is one in Endor," they said. 41. David took Saul's robe while he was sleeping. False. 1 Samuel 26:12. So David took the spear and water jug near Saul's head, and they left. No one saw or knew about it, nor did anyone wake up. 42. Who was struck dead for touching the Ark of the Covenant? Uzzah, Korah, Nadab, or Abihu? Uzzah. 2 Samuel 6:7. The Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of his irreverent act. Therefore God struck him down, and he died there beside the Ark of God. 43. What did the Philistines return with the Ark of the Covenant? Gold coins, bronze shields, silver idols, or golden tumors and rats? Golden tumors and rats. 1 Samuel 6:4. The Philistines asked, "What guilt offering should we send to him?" They replied, 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats, according to the number of the Philistine rulers. 44. What was used to cover the altar in the tabernacle? Gold, bronze, silver, or linen? Gold. Exodus 33. Overlay the top and all the sides and the horns with pure gold and make a gold molding around it. 45. What did Daniel see in his vision by the Ulai Canal? A ram with two horns. Daniel 8:3, I looked up and there before me was a ram with two horns standing beside the canal, and the horns were long. 46, what did Paul use to write his letters? Pen, scribe, quill, or stylus? Scribe. Romans 16:22, I, Tertius, who wrote down this letter, greet you in the Lord. 47, what did Nehemiah use to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem? Bricks, iron and wood, stone and timber, or clay and straw? Stone and timber. Nehemiah 2:8, and may I have a letter to Asaph, keeper of the royal park, so he will give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel by the temple and for the city wall and for the residence I will occupy. 48, who was the prophet that cursed 42 youths who mocked him, resulting in their death by bears? Elijah, Simeon, Zechariah, or Elisha? Elisha. 2 Kings 2:24, he turned around, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. 49, which king of Israel had his body burned after his death? Saul, Solomon, David, or Ahab? Saul. 1 Samuel 31:12, all their valiant men marched through the night to Bethshan. They took down the bodies of Saul and his sons from the wall of Bethshan and went to Jabesh, where they burned them. 50, Daniel was the prophet that prophesied the valley of dry bones. False. Ezekiel 37:4-5, then he said to me, prophesy to these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones, I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. 51, what did Jesus say the kingdom of heaven is like? Pearl, treasure hidden in a field, mustard seed, or all of the above? All of the above. Matthew 13:31-33, 44-46. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, like a treasure hidden in a field, like a merchant looking for fine pearls. 52. Who was a prophet that had a vision of a scroll being eaten and turning sweet in his mouth but bitter in his stomach? Isaiah, Jacob, Jeremiah, or Ezekiel? Ezekiel 3:3, then he said to me, son of man, eat this scroll I am giving you and fill your stomach with it. So I ate it, and it tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth. 53, who was the king that lost his mind and lived like an animal for 7 years? Nebuchadnezzar, Darius, Belshazzar, or Cyrus? Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel 4:33, immediately what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from people and ate grass like the ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. 54, who prophesied the destruction of Nineveh? Nahum 1:1, the prophecy concerning Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. 55, what did Samson find in the carcass of the lion he had killed? Gold, a snake, honey, or a scroll? Honey. Judges 14:8, sometime later when he went back to marry her, he turned aside to look at the lion's carcass, and in it he saw a swarm of bees and some honey. 56, who said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him? Job, Solomon, Abraham, or Jonah? Job. Job 13:15, though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. I will surely defend my ways to his face. 57. What was the name of the high priest who tore his clothes in response to Jesus' claim of being the Messiah? Peter, Gamaliel, Caiaphas, or Nicodemus? Caiaphas, Matthew 26:65. Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now ye have heard the blasphemy. 58. Who was the woman who offered her 2 small copper coins as an offering at the temple, which Jesus praised? Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of Jesus, Martha, or none of the above? None of the above. Mark 12:41-42. Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worthy only a few cents. 59. Who was the disciple that Jesus called Satan for just suggesting Jesus should not go to Jerusalem to die? Peter, John, James, or Andrew? Peter, Matthew 16:23, Jesus turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. 60. What did Jesus ride into Jerusalem? Horse, camel, chariot, or donkey? Donkey. Matthew 21:7. They brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them for Jesus to sit on. 61. What was the cupbearer's dream in Joseph's story? 3 baskets of bread, 3 stars in the sky, 3 fish in a net, or 3 branches in a vine? Branches in a vine. Genesis 40:9-10. So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, In my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. 62. What did the prodigal son wish to eat when he was in need? Pig feed, fish bones, breadcrumbs, or fruit peels? Pig feed. Luke 15:16. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. 63. What was the giant Goliath's weapon? Sword and shield, bow and arrow, spear and javelin, or sling and stone? Spear and javelin. 1 Samuel 17:7. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield bearer went ahead of him. 64. What did the Queen of Sheba bring to Solomon? Spices, gold, and precious stones, wines and perfumes, livestock and grains, or silk and linen? Spices, gold, and precious stones. 1 Kings 10:2. Arriving at Jerusalem with a very great caravan with camels carrying spices, large quantities of gold, and precious stones. 65. What did the man at the beautiful gate ask Peter and John for? Healing, money, food, or shelter? Money. Acts 3:3. When he saw Peter and John about to enter, he asked them for money. 66. What did the angel give to John in the book of Revelation? Scroll to eat, trumpet to blow, sword to wield, or lamp to drink? Scroll to eat. Revelation 10:10. I took the little scroll from the angel's hand and ate it. It tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth, but when I had eaten it, my stomach turned sour. 67. What did the widow of Zarephath collect when Elijah met her? Water, wheat, sticks, or grapes? Sticks. 1 Kings 17:10. So he went to Zarephath. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, "Would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink?" 68. What did Jacob use to trick his father Isaac into blessing him? His mother's cooking, stolen jewels, disguise, or goat skins? Goat skins. Genesis 27:16. She, Rebekah, also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with goat skins. 69. What did the people use to carry the Ark of the Covenant? Chariot, boat, cart, or their shoulders? Their shoulders. 2 Samuel 6:13. When those who were carrying the Ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he sacrificed a bull and a fattened calf. 70. What did Boaz give to Ruth when she gleaned in his fields? Bread and wine, gold and silver, barley and wheat, or milk and honey? Barley and wheat. Ruth 2:15-16. As she got up to glean, Boaz gave orders to his men, "Let her gather among the sheaves and don't reprimand her. Even pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up, and don't rebuke her." 71. Who was a disciple that climbed a sycamore fig tree to see Jesus? Zacchaeus, Bartimaeus, Andrew, or Thomas? Zacchaeus. Luke 19:4. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. 72. Who were the 2 men that appeared with Jesus at the Transfiguration? Peter and John, James and John, Peter and James, or James and Andrew? Peter and James. Matthew 17:1-3. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. 73. Who was the first Gentile convert to Christianity baptized by Peter? Cornelius, Barnabas, Titus, or Silas? Cornelius. Acts 10:47-48. Then Peter said, "Surely no one can stand in the way of their being baptized with water. They have received the Holy Spirit just as we have." So he ordered that they be baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. 74. What was the name of the servant girl who recognized Peter outside the high priest's courtyard during Jesus' trial? Mary, Martha, Rhoda, or Salome? Rhoda. Acts 12:13-14. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed she ran back without opening it and exclaimed, "Peter is at the door." 75. Who was the apostle that replaced Judas Iscariot among the 12? Paul, Timothy, Matthias, or Silas? Matthias. Acts 1:26. Then they cast lots, and the lot fell to Matthias, so he was added to the 11 apostles. 76. What did Elisha use to cure Naaman of leprosy? Oil from an olive tree, new garment, water from Jordan River, or a dove? Water from Jordan River. 2 Kings 5:10. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, "Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored and you'll be cleansed." 77. Who was the man who sold his birthright for a bowl of stew? Jacob, Isaac, Esau, or Andrew? Esau. Genesis 25:29-30. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom. 78. What did Jesus tell the disciple to cast into the sea to catch a fish with a coin in its mouth? A net, spear, line, or hook? A hook. Matthew 17:27. But so that we may not cause offense, go to the lake and throw out your line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and you'll find a 4 drachma coin. 79. What did Samson use to catch 300 foxes? Nets, firebrands, a cage, or ropes? Firebrands. Judges 15:4-5. So he went out and caught 300 foxes and tied them tail to tail in pairs. He then fastened a torch to every pair of tails, lit the torches, and let the foxes loose in the standing grain of the Philistines. 80. Who was the prophet that challenged the people of Israel to choose this day whom you will serve? Isaiah, Saul, Solomon, or Joshua? Joshua 24:15. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. And that's all our questions today. So let us know how you did down below and share this with your friends and family to compare your scores with theirs, and then we'll see you in the next one.